Welcome to the Gravel Lot, the place where bikes are for everyone.
The Gravel Lot podcast is presented by Be Free Ride Bikes Apparel, providing a fully customized cycling apparel experience to provide you and your team the attention to detail and personal touch that you deserve.
And also brought to you by Grimpour Brothers Coffee, offering handmade coffee roasted weekly in small batches to give you the finest quality coffee to start your day. Choose their subscription service and earn your free bag of coffee today.
And by Hand Up Gloves. Great gear, better times. Providing a wide range of apparel for bikes, snow sports, and golf in multiple designs and fits to let your personality shine.
Our goal with the Gravel Lot is to inspire cyclists of all stripes to ride bikes, share their story, and have fun. We love all bikes and anyone who wants to ride them. So no matter where you sit on the spectrum of bikes, we'll always have a place for you in the Gravel Lot.
And now, the hosts of TGL, John Woolry and Doug McClintock.
Hello and welcome back to the Gravel Lot. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm John, that's Doug, and below
I'm Tara.
Yeah, that's also Tara. We are so glad that you guys found us for another episode here in the Gravel Lot. So what is the Gravel Lot for those of you that are new? For those of you that have been around for a long time, you guys know this. Let's all say it together. At the Gravel Lot, we fully believe that the only thing better than a bike ride is sharing a bike ride with your best friends. So that's what we do. And what do you do on those rides? You tell stories, you catch up on life, and you share things about yourself with your friends and learn more about each other and connect as a community. So we made a podcast that does that. I think pretty simple.
We're fairly certain.
I mean, it's a pretty simple structure here.
Right.
Like Gravel Lot, tell stories, learn more, become a more holistic person.
That's the intent. So
whether you're new Pebble,
yeah, or
an existing Pebble, we're all Pebbles in the Gravel Lot. Again, for those new folks. So welcome. We seriously, it is never lost on us how thankful we are that you guys continue to listen to us or watch us on YouTube or find us on social media or wherever that Doug's going to talk about now.
Yeah. So you can find us on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or all those different places. Wherever you get your good, fine podcasts, you can find us. You can also find us at our website, and that is a great place to get all sorts of things, including our friend Tara's show, Pink, Blue, White Podcasters, did last year, which is excellent. Apropos still in this very day and age. And you can comment, subscribe, and most importantly, I think share this with one of your friends who is into bikes. Support us on Patreon, go to our Etsy store, all these different places you can show your support for the show. We appreciate it, all of you doing that, and support all the folks we mentioned in the intro. They are all excellent. They've been with us for a long time, do really great things, and make really cool stuff. And your support of them helps us continue to, build out this studio and do these sort of things and keep this show running for you all. So we appreciate it. You can send us topics, guest suggestions. We're working hard on season 5 here, trying to figure out what the rest of the year looks like. So send us your guest suggestions and we'll get people on here if we can. If you can make the warm handoff, that's always better. So it's always,
throwing names out there is great, but
we're the president. It's sorry, Joey. Joey B is busy doing some stuff, sending missiles to Ukraine right now or whatever. So he's busy doing other things, can't be on here. But send all that or give us a call at 513-400-5577. Leave us a rude voicemail. We're here for that.
Sure.
Yeah. So John, how has the past couple weeks been? How's the ride been?
Well, you and I rode bikes.
We did ride bikes.
We rode mountain bikes,
which really
was good. It was nice to figuratively and literally blow the dust off. I think that was the first time that my mountain bike has been out on a trail, like a trail
in a while
since the pandemic.
Probably.
That's hard to admit. It was preceded the day before by riding 30 miles with my wife, which is the first time she's been on her cross bike since she broke her tibia fibula. And that's a deep cut for all of you, like long time Pebbles
season 1,
because you guys lived through that in season 1. And then last week she had surgery. So like, again, like full circle here.
Yep. So keep come back. It's like the greatest hits.
Another full circle comeback there. So she's recovering from that, but there's been a lot.
Yeah.
This is like the calmest point in my week, it feels like. So how about you?
Much the same, except without the surgery. I was on one of those bike rides. Just been like, it's the full breakneck stuff. We had Ellen's shower with like our aunts and sister and family and whatnot. So that was kind of a wild time. I just went over to some neighbor's house and sat and drank bourbon and told stories, and that was fun, and listened to country music and talked. So it was a good time. But yeah, I don't know. Just
Panda Watch.
It's Panda Watch, right? It's Panda Watch. We're 36 weeks as of today. So when probably y'all hear this, Pebbles will be 37 weeks, and so it is
go time.
Getting to be go time. So packing bags and making sure, like, I've cleaned out the pantry this weekend. That was my big thing. It's like no one would be able to find anything in this entire pantry if it was left to them and their own devices, and someone's going to have to feed me at some point. So I was like, I better get this under control.
Probably me.
So yeah. So John, you're going to have to come over and make food. That's
whatever. Show me where stuff's at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that brings into, like, Doug and I are talking through, for those of you who have been parents before, you understand what Doug is getting ready to go through. We're talking through what does that look like for TGL. So stay tuned for that. We're not going anywhere. No. It's just a matter of like, what is it going to look like in the interstitial until baby Panda gets up, and I don't know.
Until Daddy Panda figures out how to like put a baby panda diaper
feed himself
on.
Essentially. I think once Doug relearns how to feed himself, I think we'll figure out what's going on, but we'll keep you guys posted. So, but yeah, for those of you that are listening, whenever you're listening, either baby McClintock is already here or is close.
That's the plan. So yeah. So that's what's up. Tara, you've just had to listen to us blather.
It's been really good.
But it's been nice.
I was expecting more feedback.
No, I wasn't going to interrupt your flow, and I didn't get to ride with the both of you. So
it's true.
I got. Although like you're talking about surgeries, and here I am like getting chunks taken out of my nose a couple of weeks ago, and
remove weight and add lightness.
Yeah, wear your sunscreen.
Colin Chapman mode of going faster.
Yeah. So so that I can relate with, and then getting back on my bike again, like this week I can ride outside. Yay. So good. I'm finally like stoked at that, but I gotta stay off a mountain bike for a couple of weeks. So I don't smash my nose into the ground.
So before we actually get into things, how is that recovery going so far?
Apparently I'm more better than average, which is good because I tell myself that all the time. But if, Dr. Lowe, if you're listening, or any of the RAs there, no, I am not wearing my glasses right now. Like I swear, like I have the little pad thing on, so y'all can see that.
It's a filter. It's totally a filter.
Yeah, it's totally clear.
But
clear
also,
bandages.
You have doctor confirmation that you are above average now too. Like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, no, they were like, wow, but check out this. You want to see this? Check out that scar.
Ooh. That's from that knife fight with that.
Yeah, knife, right? Exactly. See them. They got stabbed worse. But yeah, so I got a chunk taken out of my neck. They slapped on my nose. But yeah, no, it's a good lesson to everybody is, if you see something, say something to your doctor. Not to the cops, but if you see a spot on your nose, your face, your arms, your legs, your back, go get it checked out, everybody, because it's gonna be it might be skin cancer like it was for me.
Well, it's good that you got it when you did, right? It's always better to get it when you get it rather than not getting it at all. So
yeah, I mean, I'd like to have it when I'm like 80 instead of now. But
well,
like,
I'm saying you caught
no,
it.
I'm teasing. I know what you're saying.
Not that you got it. Not that you like contracted
Right,
skin
yeah.
cancer. Like no one wants
It's like
that.
a going out of business sale. I'll take it now. It's fine.
Yeah,
Don't need this
that's
anymore.
what I'm saying. Like, catch me on the back. Catch me on the backside when I'm not busy. Anyway,
I love it.
So
I love
yeah,
it.
so my last couple of weeks has been okay. I've been testing out some new bikes. We can talk about that as we get into the show. But been riding some new bikes, and just the spring is here, and I know I'm going to knock on wood when I say this, right? But I put away my winter kits. Like, I took them out today.
You've cursed us all.
I'm so screwed. It's going to be 40 and raining tomorrow.
We're just recording this, so it's only going to live on my computer. So I think if I don't put it out into the world for a couple of days, I think we're going to be okay. But once it goes out into the world, it is
no. Then
there.
it means I just reverse global warming by saying that.
Look at it this way: we won't release this episode if you caused the problem. We'll just shelf this episode and it'll never see the light of day.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah.
So, we are super stoked to have you here with us. You are returning again. Lots has changed in your world and your life since we last had you here. You are now the deputy editor of Bicycling. You put together the Pink Blue White show. There's a lot of stuff to talk about around that, just in general. And now you live in a whole different state, which is a wild thing because you had just kind of accepted this position when we last had you on. So there's a lot, but there's also some stuff that's been going on behind the scenes that we wanted to talk about today, and a little bit about some things that have just happened and that have triggered some conversations between all of us. And so there's a little bit more meets the eye in our conversations. So Tara, officially, welcome back to the Gravel Lot.
It just dawned on me that we're 12 minutes in and we've referred to her as Tara, but
I'll properly introduce myself, everybody. Hi.
Thank you for covering for Doug. I was like sitting here waiting, trying to interject.
I mean, we all know each other, like at this point, like just brothers and sisters. But I'm Tara Seplavy. I ride bikes. I now write about bikes for a very large national cycling publication. I occasionally race bikes relatively poorly, and I like to talk shit on the internet, specifically usually on Twitter.
I know that we've just come out of the Lenten period, but this is not confession. So
cleanse, get it out.
I mean, it kind of is. So feel free to
it always is. You always have to be honest with yourself, everybody.
For sure.
Better out than in.
Yeah. So
it depends.
Oh fuck!
You can dump that one.
No, I'm keeping that one. That one's good. So let's start with the massive life change that was and is a new job. Anybody that's taken a new job knows that that is a very positive in a lot of ways, yet cataclysmic in other ways. How did that kind of come about? I know that you'd been looking for something for a while. How did that kind of come about, and what has the transition, from moving out of New York and moving to Pennsylvania, what has that kind of process been like for you before we get into the nitty gritty of what you get up to on the daily?
I guess it's one of those things, sometimes you just never expect to be in a situation at a time, and you're kind of this is good. This seems cool. It's cool people. Yeah, why not? I'll go for it. So I moved from suburban New York, Long Island, to, roughly speaking, I was living about 90 minutes east of New York City, of downtown Manhattan. Now I live about 90 minutes west of downtown Manhattan. So it's all roughly, I'm still roundabouts. I'm in New York, but I'm not really in New York. But overall, I guess the best I can say is there's better riding here. There's a better riding culture. There's a better riding scene here. So that's been my biggest kind of life change. It's been great. I can go on rides out my front door, paved rides. There's tons of miles of paved rail trail and bike trail. The DNL, which goes where does it go? It goes all the way up to like Harrisburg and all the way down to almost Philly. Passes like within like a mile or so of our office, like 2 miles from where I live here.
Awesome.
Being able to ride to work every day, like this is something I've never really experienced in my life before. If I'm riding gently, I can get to work in like 9 minutes, right? If I'm like running late, I can be there in like 5 minutes if I hit the traffic lights correctly. So,
wow.
So that life change, it's been good. But, me now not living with my kids is a different situation, right? Even though my kids are now teenagers, they're practically adults. It's still a different thing, right? Like, and I don't think I was prepared to go through that that disconnect of not being around Abby and Connor on a daily basis. So they're living with my ex, and that's cool. And I mean, everybody's like, we're all on super good terms, but it's just different not having kids around the house, like. But I got
just like the vibe and the pace is different, or is it
yeah, I mean, I can walk around like in my underwear and nobody's gonna like that's okay. But no, like I don't have 2 teenagers in the house eating all the food in the refrigerator, so that's okay too. There are snacks usually available, but no, it's just different. Like eventually in a little more than a decade, Doug, you're going to see what I mean when you have teenagers around, or just even kids who are of age to roam freely around a house. When they're not around, it's a different vibe. You're like, wow, it's quiet all the time. This is weird. I'm not used to quietness. So as you'll find out as a parent, like when they're young, if you hear quiet, that means they're up to bad shit, and you got to find out what's going on. So.
Uncle John has arrived and is now taking them out in the back on the 4-wheeler.
Yeah,
No, they're
all of the bad things I'm gonna bring to the house.
Yeah, no, for sure. They're climbing up, bookshelves, or jumping on a bed someplace. And
Speaking about that, like for it being a fairly abrupt change for you, how is your adaptation to that been? I mean, it sounds like you're still acknowledging it. Did you struggle with that at first?
I jumped 2 feet into moving to PA, and I had moved here like in June of last year, so just under a year ago from when everybody's listening to this, and it was riding season, right? So you just get into it. And then I rolled from riding season here and like discovering all these new roads. Like what's interesting, right, is if you use the Strava thing, right? Like some people like might use Strava. I'm one of those people, right? Like all of a sudden I have all these new rides, and you're like, wow, I'm setting new PRs. Like every time I went on a ride for the first several weeks, I was like, sweet, I have a new ride here. Like, so that was kind of cool, and just getting out and not being in like jam-packed suburbia. Like I'll be lying and say this is like rural. It's not, and it's not a city here in Easton, but I think if I ride like probably 15, 20 minutes, I'll see a cow, right? Like when I was living on Long Island, like you don't see cows. Like they don't really exist on Long Island.
Not a lot of road cows.
Only ironically, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when I was in Connecticut, I would see like a cow, like if I rode past the Stu Leonard's, because there's like, a big fake cow there, but beyond that, not really. So this is interesting. It's different. The road riding here is different. I admittedly haven't been on mountain bikes, like, and that's the one thing I do like kind of miss is when I was living in New York, I had a ton of mountain bike trails, like not out my back door literally, but roll down the hill a mile from my door. I had, depending on how you wanted to go, like 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 miles of single track, like right there, right. And now if I want to go ride mountain bikes, I have to get in a car and I have to drive someplace, and it takes additional planning, and I'm not great with time management all the time. And, I want to go for a ride and I have to meet up with people at noon, and it's like, oh, it's 11:58. I better put my kid on. So
yeah, that I think is definitely a thing in a lot of places when it comes to mountain bike riding.
I think that's
right?
more
like,
the common experience.
Well, at least
you got to put it in the car, drive somewhere.
Yeah, especially places that may be less approaching rural or don't have like dedicated park space in that fashion. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of folks.
We can't all live in Durango or Bentonville or Squamish, BC or something like that have extensive mountain bike trail networks out the door. But honestly, it really is something, giving props to the place where I called home for 40 something years of my life, Long Island, New York. The people at Climb, which is Concerned Long Island mountain bicyclists and mountain bikers. I should know this. I was part of that org for a long time. They have an enormous amount of cross-country riding in suburbia, like in the most densely packed area, like suburban area of the US. They have mountain bike trails all over the place. And most people have to drive there, but practically any place you are, you can jump in a car in less than 20 minutes. You're going to be on a trail.
That's pretty excellent.
As long as you don't get stuck in traffic, then it could be 45, but yeah.
Right. Okay. So anyway, let's talk about the job.
Yeah.
All right. Now meat and potatoes here. Here we go.
We were talking about it a little bit before recording. So for those that have listened to the first and second time you were on the show, they have a good primer on kind of where you came from.
If not, John's going to link the links below and you can click on in.
Doing our labor for us.
I like how she even like PM'd me into being like delegated it to me to be.
I'm here for that. I don't want to do it.
Anyway, so you went from kind of one side of the equation on the like product devo, like the product devo side, and talking about the products and trying to get people to get on them, to this, writing about them, reviewing them, liking, disliking, actually being empowered to make decisions and to then write about it with a fairly strong pen. Like it's hard to ignore the branding that comes with the magazine that you write for. So talk a little bit about the dichotomy of the two now that you've kind of experienced both sides of the coin.
Yeah, so I guess it's interesting is in the last 3 years of my life, I have worked on the supplier side for big bike companies. So I was last working with Cycling Sports Group on the GT brand. So Cycling Sports Group is Cannondale, GT, Schwinn Mongoose, yada, yada, yada. And I was working on product development and brand management type stuff for GT. Then during pandemic, I was working some for my friends in Brooklyn who own a couple of IBDs, King Cog and Sun and Air. And now I'm working for Bicycling Magazine. So it's sort of like seeing the entire breadth of the market, right? And here at Bicycling, it's hard to exactly contextualize like, hey, how large bicycling is, right? Like it's everybody reads bicycling, even when they say they don't, they really do read bicycling because they're going to find it in some way, shape, or form. It's whether it's the magazine that you see with your Apple News Plus sub, or if it's the magazine that you see when you're going through the airport, or if you're a longtime subscriber, or hey, you're looking up how to do something, or you're looking up, hey, what's the top 10 e-bikes I can buy, or whatever. You're gonna somehow come across bicycling.
Your SEO, whether it's physical or digital, is banging, and it has been because let's be clear, I've been reading bicycling since I was in high school.
Yeah.
The brand's been around a long time.
It was the magazine that got me deeper into the sport when I was coming back to it, and I was buying it from Kroger, like reading it literally off the newsstand.
And I think that's the access point to a lot of folks, right? Just the name alone, right? Like, oh, I want to learn about bicycling. Okay, you type that into Google. Wow, it comes right up, right? Like you're not having to get very like esoteric with the name or something like that. It's
velocipede.
But I guess what we can say is that it's an entry point for a ton of people who are riding bikes, and it's bikes of all sizes. And that's an interesting point that like I think I'm being exposed to more now. Like I saw it when I was working at CSG, because we had everything from $10,000 Cannondales in our portfolio to $99 push bikes or Schwinn bikes that were being sold at Walmart. So like I had that rough exposure, but then going into IBD world, I saw like how people were literally using bikes on a daily basis in Brooklyn during a pandemic, and that was some of the best learning experience of my entire career. But now I'm also seeing just its depth, its breadth, it's on the X, Y, and Z axis of people using bikes. Anywhere, whoever it is, it's people who are, it's a kid who's, looking things up in a school library when they're 10 or 12 to somebody who's 60, 70 plus years old who have been subscribing to bicycling since day one, and they're still connected to it. So it's everybody and anybody in between, and being able to connect with that that range of folks. And it's whether you're riding a bike for commuting, whether you're riding an all mountain bike or a downhill bike, whether you're doing bike packing or you're racing a crit, like it's everybody. And that's so unique. And it's something that I think we all as cyclists are missing on our daily, like in our daily lives, right? It's really easy to get like pulled into the nuances of a crit beef or what's happening on a World Cup downhill circuit, or who slandered who in some European newspaper. But it's I don't know, it doesn't. But like what I'm getting at is that it's refreshing to know, hey, we're all part of this thing.
Yes.
Right? Like no matter how you ride a bike, you're doing it correctly, right? Like that's the thing. It's like, are you riding a bike? Okay, cool. Like, first thing done. Next thing, do you
here's my question.
Differently, go for it.
This is my question around this. You've seen all these different pieces, and it's a progression, right? You've gone from manufacturer to working in a different space to now working in this space. Do you feel like, because I am currently subsumed by the anxiety of what I think you probably feel like, do you feel a mantle of responsibility to try to serve such a broad group in a way that's genuine? Because like I'm over
accessible.
Here, because I'm over here stressing for you to manage that. Your client base is fucking everyone. You're like the toilet paper company. It's like everyone has an ass. We need to wipe it because we don't have bidets in here in the United States. So toilet paper. We all got to market toilet paper. You're marketing to such a wide swath. What does the responsibility feel like?
And I take it. I personally take it, personally, and there have been times like you're looking at something and you go, will I spend my money on this? Right. I'll be very honest. I've worked in the bicycling space for 24 years. I'm like, how old am I? 24 years.
Carry the two.
Yeah, it's exactly. I'm like, but what was screwing me up there? Like sidebar here. I was thinking in racing age for a second, and I had to like back up. I'm like, no, I'm not actually 47. Like USA Cycling thinks I'm 47, but I'm actually 46. So anyway, what I'm getting at is that, I literally probably haven't had to pay full retail for things in a very, very, very long time. Hold on, we got to mute the game. Sorry. I haven't had to pay retail for stuff, generally speaking, in a very long time. And I think when I was working on the bike brand side, I probably get disconnected a little bit, realizing sometimes, it's like you're seeing the latest and greatest years ahead of time, a lot of times. And you're not always able to comprehend what does this mean to somebody who's buying their very first bike, and whether somebody has $300 to buy a bike or $30 to buy a bag or what, that might be all they can scrap together for that. And I want to make sure I'm giving them the best possible recommendation on that. Like I want to give them the legitness, right? I don't want them to come back a week, a month, a year later and go like, Tara did me wrong. So I do feel a weight there. And the other part of it too is, like you both are saying, I remember picking up my first issue of Bicycling Magazine on a family road trip to, I want to say it was like Florida or Savannah or something like that. When I was 16, I don't know, whatever. No, I must have been younger than that, but it was Greg LeMond was on the cover and he's all like aero barred out. And I picked up that issue of that mag and I remember that, right? I remember that connection I had with cycling. And I don't want a kid who's doing that to pick up the issue and be like, not feel that love and connection.
This is not for me.
Yeah,
this isn't for me.
Years down the road, you can't. Yeah, there's a thing about being a brand steward, right? And I think it was part of that too. Like when I was working for GT, like GT is celebrating their 50th anniversary this year, and I'm not here to hype a brand, but it's more of like, this is a very old brand, right? It's a very legendary long brand in our sport. And working there and working with people who are, icons of cycling and working on brand names like the Zaskar, working with people like Hans Rey. Like, no, this is like the foundations.
These are the people.
Mountain biking of our
people.
Sport.
Yeah. Yep.
So you have a duty and responsibility. If somebody bought a GT Avalanche, they have something to live up to there. So I think that is an experience that I'm carrying over to bicycling, going, no, I can't let these folks down, whether they've been a bicycling subscriber for 30 years, 40 years, or if they're the kid who's picking it up on the newsstand for the very first time.
It's cool to hear how you describe it, because as I'm kind of digesting what you're saying, it's the solutions, not the solutions, but the approaches sound fairly similar in the sense that, yeah, you're advocating for a brand when you work for a brand, but now you're advocating for bikes and you're advocating for the bike rider, whoever that is. So first, I will say kudos to you for being somebody who has already left an impact on Bicycling Magazine, for continuing their efforts of making things more accessible, more relatable, easier to access, easier to acknowledge, easier to see, magazines that feel like they're talking to people who don't make mid six-figure incomes. Again, this is making some deep cuts today. Like, we've had plenty of shows where we've talked a lot of shit about other cycling magazines that do that. And I forget who we had on that we had the Velo News, like,
I don't remember
marketing, like the
I don't remember who was on. I don't remember who was on.
The advertising specs on there, and they like listed the average, income of their readers and stuff like that. But the fact that you're acknowledging that if somebody has $30 to spend on a bag to commute to and from work, that you're going to give them the best recommendation for that price point, rather than saying, don't spend your money because anything under, $150 isn't worth it. Because I've read those articles about bikes before, when I had my, Trek 1000 that got me back into road riding and I was looking for my next bike. I was convinced that I couldn't buy anything less than $5,000 to have a good riding experience. And I was just out of college, high debt, low income, didn't have that money. So I was like, well, this is the bike that I have. So it any of that curiosity, any of that stuff that furthers the romance of the sport of, yes, riding your bike is amazing. But for me, I love tinkering and I love shopping for the next thing and dreaming about what that next thing is. That the minute you make those things more accessible, it's going to make me spend more money if I know that, okay, I'm going to carve out $50 for a bike bag and I'm going to go get, a great state bike bag, handlebar bag, and I'm going to put that on my gravel bike and I'm going to use it and I'm going to love it because it's going to do everything that I want to do at the price point that I want it to do. rather than being told like, well, you can't even spend, don't even worry about spending that money. And it would just shut me off. And I'd be like, well, clearly, finding a handlebar bag
is not for me.
It's not for me. And it immediately excludes things from the equation. So
and it's been particularly tough over the last 2 years.
Because nobody has
to get there just isn't stuff a lot of times.
Yeah, there's no things to lust over.
So if you're thinking about product and you're thinking about, hey, I want to buy this something, I want us, not just me, us as bicycling, to be able to give good foundational advice. I'm going to edit myself right there. So that kind of, hey, this is what I like, this is what I'm getting into, this is the general price range of stuff. But hey, we're honestly we're riding everything. I've tested $1,000 e-bikes, and I've tested $8,000-$10,000 road bikes, and I think I have a $12,000 or something like that mountain bike, in my possession right now. So it's there's all sorts of angles to this. And I want people to be able to at least take away hey, this is what the context of the market is. This is where I'm sitting in it. Is this for me? Yes, no, maybe. But kind of, part of that too is to be able to, at times when something is affordable. Okay, let's say the word cheap, and we don't mean cheap in quality, right? Let's just
cheap and pricey.
Let's just use lay people's terms here, right? It's cheap. Okay, cool. I would say I see something, and
the deal.
Yeah, you're getting good, price value equation, right? I want us to do our best to seek out more of that. I want us to yes, if a pair of bib shorts is $350, I sure the heck hope it does a lot of miraculous things.
Right.
And I want to be able to say though, hey, this is good if it's good. But at the same time, if there's a $40 pair of bib shorts, and I'll say, yeah, a pair of black bibs, yes, the black bibs make some $40 shorts that I've ridden. I'm like, oh, those were $40? You wouldn't know it, right? And that's the type of stuff I want people to know about. And trying to be brand agnostic there, and tell people the real stuff. Hey, this works or it doesn't work. And I think that's an important bit of clarity, because a lot of times, we do have a firm separation there between the ad sales side of stuff and what we're doing on the journalistic side. And it's something I really respect. And it's one of the reasons I came to bicycling, is because I knew that, having dealt with bicycling for decades of my career, is that there was a firm separation there.
Yeah.
And if I saw something in print that, Bill Strickland, who's been at bicycling forever, or Matt Phillips, who's been here forever, if I saw Matt write something, I knew it wasn't SpawnCon, right? I knew it wasn't a promoted link if Matt said it. And yeah, Matt, who's on my test team, he said stuff about bikes I've made before, and it ticked me off.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
that was Matt's assessment.
I knew Matt. I wasn't taking it personally. Yeah, I did take it personally. Come on, we all know me. I'm emo Tara, but I wasn't taking, I knew it was a worthy critique, and I want us to carry that forward. I want us to be able to call things out for what it is, but at the same time, I want to be able to say, hey, this is a really good product and you should check this out, because a lot of times too, and this is something I've learned here, right? People are checking out, and this is something I didn't know and I wouldn't have even thought about before I started working on the media side, right? People are checking out some of our most read pieces might be things that are a year old, 2 years old, 3 or 5 years old even. And I stop and think, and you see somebody digging into a review that's a few years old, and you're like, oh, I know why, because they went on Pros Closet and they saw this bike and they want to research it before they buy it.
Yep.
Bananas cool, right? Like I want us to be able to, somebody wants to buy that used LA, they look at the 3-year-old review that we post on the LA and go, okay, that's what that was. They'll compare it to the new LA that just came out.
Yep, and it still has value in that.
Yeah, it still has legs. Amanda and I were watching a Netflix show. I forget what it's called. It's about like organizing your house or something, and it's two women that like go in and organize.
Yeah, they're tremendously hard to watch.
Whatever, but to me it was hard to watch because everything was amazing, everything was great. Oh my God, that's so pretty, that's so beautiful. It's like, okay, that's horseshit because not everything is great. But it's okay that not everything is great, but I don't believe anything you're saying because everything is like you're saying everything is amazing. Like the minute that you start to say either everything is terrible or everything is amazing, then it like you have no credibility. And it becomes like the cliche of the boy who cried wolf. And that's where like you need those articles of like, yeah, here's the budget buy. Here's the things that you give up when you do the budget buy, the value pricing. Like, here are the things that you're going to get. Here are the things that you're not going to get. And I love that you brought up the black bib shorts. It just immediately made me think of Gordon. So shout out Gordon, because that's how I know about the black bib.
What's up, Gordon?
But like thinking about those things in terms of just the overall credibility of what you're doing, that those words matter. Not only do they matter now, they matter 3 years, 5 years from now when somebody's going to buy a used bike or like you said, Pros Closet, things like that. Because without those actual critiques, none of that stuff has teeth, the good or the bad, because then it's all nonsense and it's all fluff.
Oh, there's dead space there.
Oh no,
I thought you were.
I thought you were going to jump in. I was.
I was going to let Doug go. Let Doug go. We were creating dead air there.
Dead air is fine. Look, this isn't NPR. It's not like we had breaking. NPR always has dead air when they're doing breaking news, and this is breaking news. But
NPR. By the way, I'm going to interject here. NPR, and I cried today because a breaking news alert that came like over my hammerhead. I'm pedaling along after I got dropped on the group. NPR shoots a Supreme Court update over, and it pushes through and pops up, and I just started bawling. So yeah, like kind of NPR right now, I'm not stoked because you kind of ruined my ride. So
yeah, NPR with a poorly timed update to Gara's,
which there's
Tara's hammerhead.
I feel like that's a whole podcast in and of itself.
It probably is, but I'm not going to buy the tote bag now.
Like why that
you're off the Chico bag. You were off the Chico bag this year. You're not on the Chico bag.
But I listen to like WMIC all the time, and every time they're like doing a fundraiser and they're like pushing that like the chocolate babka, I'm like, I almost every time I'm like, I want the chocolate babka bad. Yeah.
But so I think what's interesting when we're talking about like how your perspective is regarding approaching things from all of the perspectives, right? This is part of what I think bicycling has figured out that other people haven't. And I think it's part of what makes.
You mean there are other people that ride bikes other than rich middle-aged white dudes?
Right. But they're or more niche, cooler dressed, hipper, better photographed rich white dudes, right? Like This is the piece that is really, I think, fascinating, is not only are you trying to really look at the breadth of the price points on gear, bikes, all of these things, but you're also, as an organization, telling and highlighting and utilizing social capital in a way that I don't think any other publication is. No one in my people are willing to do an amazing, brilliant. Ian did that brilliant article on this guy who's an absolute swindler. It's like 2 years worth of research. It's a brilliant piece of journalism, right? It's a brilliant piece of journalism, but it has no social teeth, as it were. Y'all are putting people and stories and representation front and center in a way that no other media is doing. And I think it's powerful because you're looking not only financially, but also socially. And how do we bring bikes and let people who are that kid who is 16 and pull that magazine out go, oh, there's someone that looks kind of like me or has a story that I can relate to. I thought I was Greg LeMond because it was the only person I thought I could be. There was no one else to be.
And yes, 100%, right? Like if they see Justin Williams on the cover, and that's their pull, so be it, right? Like, hey, let's be honest here. Us middle-class white folks are going to find cycling no matter what.
Correct.
It's, we don't have a problem attracting middle-aged white folks to bikes. But
we recruit our own. Oddly.
Yeah, we oddly do that. But being able to share stories that are, and no, I'm not on the features team, so like I can't, speak for the amazing, like literally, like they're doing groundbreaking stuff there. Like they're, on the Runner's World side, and they're winning Pulitzers and things like that for some great stuff they've done. Or heck, the Justin Williams story on bicycling as well. They're doing great things. But what I'm getting at is saying that there is no there's no barrier there where we are filtering something because of somebody's looks, somebody's perception. It still blew my mind the first time I picked up a magazine, and I'm like, there's this tall, slightly chunky trans woman in there. Oh shit, that's me. I
remember when the first picture of you came through my mailbox, I was like, ah!
So
aside from the ones that you sent that one time, but that's mail fraud and we're not talking about it.
Well, it's not. That's interstate commerce stuff. But anyway, I guess, I think a lot of things would have been different in my personal life had I saw more representation of folks like myself along the ways. But so I know how that feels, but there have been other times too where I like that it's not being done always to it's not tokenism, right? Like we're not saying, we have to put we gotta put a queer person in the story.
Honest,
gotta check. Yeah,
an
the box.
No, an amazing thing in it. I don't know if y'all said there was like a little story, and props to one of my coworkers, Roselle, did a story for Valentine's Day. Like you would think, the cheesiest thing in the world, right? Like a Valentine's Day bicycling story about couples who ride together.
Great.
You can all kind of see, like, I think a few years ago, we all would have known where that would have been, right? And I clicked it open, and I'm like almost tearing now, like because I'm going through this, going, oh my God, there's queer people. Oh my God, there's trans folks. Oh my God, there's poly folks, right? Like it was like it hit me in a really impactful way, and I didn't even know this was going to happen, right? So like it's just part of what we're doing here, and that representation, that representation matters. It matters to people who are readers. It matters to people who are not yet into bikes, and it matters to us inside as individuals as well.
Beautiful.
So and
it goes right up to the top, right? Like I'm not trying to, I don't want to, it's not just us is what I'm getting at, right? It goes right up the food chain within our org. It's actually really there.
That's awesome.
So let's talk about, all kudos to Hearst Publishing for everything that you just listed, because it's doing the things the way that they need to be done. Now, I want to talk about the flip side, and I want to hypothesize about this of why, Tara, do you think, having again seen both sides of this equation, that no one else is doing it? Are they
on the scale you are? There are small scale producers doing it.
Are they scared of doing it wrong? Are they just not caring about it? Do they not want to dip their toe in the water? Like, what what the secret sauce for Hearst is the fact that it's supported from the absolute sharpest end of the company, and that it listens to folks as they come in. Everybody has a voice. Everybody is being heard and understood in terms of how it's important. Sure, it can affect the bottom line, but the fact of the matter is you guys understand that you have you swing larger than just being a regular magazine. There's more at stake.
And there's certainly a privilege to that just alone, right?
Correct.
Like
sure.
Our newsstand presence, our heritage as a brand, or
for sure. So
fact, who our corporate overlords are, right? Like I think, to kind of get along, like I want to be clear and say I think that there are people certainly at these other cycling meetings. Nobody's doing this purposefully, right? Like where they're not saying, hey,
don't run. Yeah.
I think you actually though have to start out and you have to say, I'm doing it purposely to be inclusive. You have to start there at a certain point.
Because there's a large part of me that feels like there's a lot of media that is struggling to exist, because let's be real. Like you said it before we started recording, that like, yes, bicycling is a giant fish in a small pond that is cycling. But in the grand scheme of Hearst Publishing, you guys are like falling off the back.
Oh, come on. Don't do that to us. No.
I mean,
we are, but we're smaller.
But that's something that we talk about as like
title,
people that are advocating for getting more people on bikes. Like part of that is understanding where cycling sits in the kind of global sphere of things to do in America. And I feel like because it is a smaller sport, it's not basketball, it's not football, it's not like you're not covering it 24 hours a day like NASCAR. Like there's only so much media that people want to consume. So I feel like a lot of places are stuck with looking at the metrics, looking at the data. These are the things that get me the click through. These are the articles that have been successful in the past. And we need to have the ad revenue. We need to have this. So we have to run these things that we know are going to generate clicks and generate the value that we need to continue to keep this thing afloat. And I could see it making investors, making decision makers scared to take those leaps, because you're dealing with people paying mortgages, and you're dealing with actually trying to pay the bills and make the thing continue to move forward.
Well, there's a lot of cycling. A lot of cycling is caught up on heritage, and I even talked about it, right? Like we just sat here and I talked about the heritage of me working for GT and me working for bicycling, which is an old brand.
It's innate in our sport.
But we talk about it and we do these things to a fault that they've become systemic, right? Like, like it was the weirdest thing, right? Like where they were racing like Roubaix in the fall, and we're like, what is this? Right? This is weird. No, yeah, but but everybody thought it was going to be like the downfall of civilization. It was like, no, like we all just watched them race bikes and the colors of the leaves were different, right? Like that's all it was.
Yeah, it was still crappy weather. Like everything was,
the weather was bad. The roads were still horrible. Like
the racing, but at the heart of it, the racing, in that case, the bicycles were still at the heart of it. And that's what made the event good. It wasn't that it necessarily happened at this specific date and time, but I think we get hung up on that a lot, and there's a fear in change, right? As everybody who can see me on the YouTube, I've gone through changes in my life, and that was fearful, right? If you've gone through big changes in your life, on anything, confronting change is hard, and it's not necessarily something you always want to do. And sometimes you get forced into it. Other times you get dragged kicking and screaming, or other times you don't change and change passes you by. So I think that, yes, and I can't speak for the other brands. I've never worked for the other brands, and this is my first gig in the media. But I think that they're trying to, they're trying to manage their house. They're trying to appeal to their readers, trying to attract more readers who act like their readers and will
subscribe
or buy or engage
Yep.
with their content, etc. So I'm not exactly faulting them for that side of it. It's more about, though, like, yes, if you do want to see this type of, if you want to see change and you want to see more representation as a key aspect of it, yeah, you're gonna have, like, those people aren't gonna it's not gonna come knocking to you. You're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
And you also have to say, like, I'm willing to crash, right? Like, let's put things in bike terms. Like, we all, like, we're cyclists, so we're going to talk in bike terms, right? Like, you're riding a mountain bike, you're gonna crash. Like,
gonna happen.
Let's be frank. But you learn from those mistakes a lot of times, right? But you have to be ready if you're gonna go big, right? It's just part of it. Like, it's a calculated risk. And I think that is just part of it. Some people, they haven't gotten there yet. Will they get there? Big old question mark.
Well, I was gonna ask you what advice you would want to give people to do, but like thank you for preempting my question, because that's it.
I feel like there's something to be said for bicycling being the one kind of leading the charge and leading the peloton, for example. Like, if we're going to continue to use the metaphor, as you guys go, everybody else can then follow and see that yes, it is okay that your house isn't going to crash.
But there becomes a point to flick the elbow and have somebody else come around and take a fucking pull.
For sure.
That was my metaphor.
Yeah. No, it was good.
I don't know if it really applies, but I wanted to do it.
No, it was good. But I think I think in this case of representation, as we saw, like, let's just use an example, like women's cycling. Some people got forced into doing it.
Yes.
Some people, like brands, marketing women, or brands building, bikes that come in more sizes, or, smaller handlebars and whatnot, or race promoters or event organizers. They got drag kicking and screaming into it. They're not all the way there even, but now we're starting to see that there has been an upside to it. There has been rewards to that. And the same will be true about representation of communities of color or queer folks, everybody else, right? Like, we all want to ride bikes, kind of put it in front of us and give us the opportunity to do it. But you do have to, I'm saying, you got to do the work there, right? Like, you can't just be like, here, I built it. It's not, this ain't Field of Dreams, right? Like, it's not just if you build.
I'm like listening to what you're saying. I'm sitting here thinking, like, you need to continue to put it in front of people and make them say, no, that's not for me. But right now it's making all of those groups of people forcibly find out.
But it's not just, but it's not, you can't just be like, hey, I made this thing, example, a race. Like, you can't go and complain like, hey, well, I have a race. We have a Cat 4 or 5 women's field, and then complain that nobody registered for it when you made the thing at 7 a.m. You have no prizes for it, even though I don't think prizes. You didn't promote it outside of having a link on Bike Reg, right? Like, you got to do those things that make it successful. You want to be part of the community, right? Like, you got to do things that are going to enable more people to partake in cycling. And I think that is something we're doing here with bicycling, right? Like, we're not just saying, hey, we're going to be inclusive. It has now gotten to that point where it just is part of it, right? Like, you have those I think that's just to back it up too, like going back to your question from before. I think some of it is people just, they don't have the contacts, right? They do have the contacts to their former racing buddies. And they don't have the contacts to anybody who isn't them. Mm-hmm. And as a result,
Hire people that don't look like you.
Yeah.
But they get there and then they say, oh, shoot, I want to have a queer voice in this, or I want to have a Black voice in this. Oh, shoot, I have to publish this. F it, just hit publish. Instead of waiting another couple of days and going and finding that contact. And those contacts take a long time to develop. But it's also, they branch and they're networking, because you meet somebody and you might say, hey, like, I don't know about this. You go to somebody else and say, hey, I want your advice on this. And they say, I don't know about this, but I can refer you to somebody else.
Right.
And that has, like, that networking side of it and being able to network. That's been exceptional. And
that's the thing.
People like that.
Not all of the work is published work.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of the work that's going on for you guys, for other places that isn't, you can't see it. Like you can't publish it, you can't read it.
And it's bringing in different voices and finding people like yourself who have different perspectives and bringing them into the organization and giving them control to help advance that, because you know that you don't know your own outages, right? As long as you know that you can't see behind your head, if you know that is your one piece of your field division, right? It's padded back here. But if you know that that's the field division you can't see, then you need to
I know is that I don't know nothing. All I know is that I don't know.
Yes, correct. That was Tara. For those of you on the audio podcast, Tara just held up Op Ivy 12. And that's really it. It is the ability to understand you don't know all the things you don't know. But I do find it interesting, and I want to kind of shift our conversation away from kind of our media perspective and that sort of thing, because I think that's an aspect of stuff that's going on, but something that sparked conversation for you and I specifically recently. And John and I have talked about in the past and whatnot, and unfortunately came out of a massive tragedy in, as you were talking about, right? The network, the bike world, the people that you have grown up with and cultivated relationships with. We are the sum of the people that we know and that we've been around. And you recently lost a very dear friend of yours, and it got us to talking about some challenges and something that doesn't go talked about a lot amongst those of us that are within the cycling world. So tell us a little bit about your friend and kind of how we kind of approach this conversation about brain injury.
So, I'll start and say that 2 months ago, yesterday, or 2 months ago, 2 days ago, I lost one of my longest friends in the bike space. Guy named James Winchester. We'd known each other from literally the first week I worked in cycling. And we just hit it off and became really good friends, even though we were working at two different companies and we only actually worked together. Like, this is really funny is, for years we said, hey, one of these days we're going to work together. And we did share a cubicle wall for like 2 years, but he was working on Schwinn and I was working for GT. We actually worked together for one day, like literally one day. He was on the GT team before he went off and got a different job at Specialized, right? But he's somebody who'd been in my life, and in talking about that networking side of stuff and people who know everybody, when you're on the product development, product management side in cycling, it's a small group of people, and you come across each other on airplanes, in airport lounges, in factories in Asia, in trade show halls in Europe or Taiwan or wherever. So it's close-knit family, and everybody knows everybody, and everybody has stories and times with people. And James was a close friend. And then, so backing this up, a few years ago, James was struck by a driver and had a serious traumatic head injury on a ride. And it changed James. It changed him a lot. And the after effects of that were, what ultimately led to his passing. But I guess it's one of these things that we're not talking about as much as we should as cyclists, as friends, as humans. We're not talking about the brain injury thing anywhere near as we should. As somebody who, myself, we were talking in the green room before the show about, hey, how many brain injuries have you had? How many concussions? I can't count how many concussions I've had. I know I have hit my head too many times to list. I've knocked myself out on many occasions. And the last big one, but no, I've definitely had a couple of concussions since my last big one. But it messed me up. It changed me. It changed me in ways that, and that was it right there. Like that, honestly, that was it. Is I have, things about me that have changed that I can't get back, about just lots of different, like it's hard to list, but like head injuries, are something that I don't think we are paying close enough attention to, or something that in a lot of circles they're just sort of brushed off. And we want to, I think the three of us here on this, on this pod, and people who are listening, at home, I think we're all in agreement. Like it's something we don't talk about, but we all have either done it ourselves or if you ride with more than one person, somebody who's knocked themselves clean out on a bike.
Yeah, on a bike specifically. Head injury
on a bike.
A million reasons.
I think about like what we just like. It's funny that we just transitioned from talking. Okay, so we're back, and we're back. Sorry for that. We're in tornado season in the Midwest right now. And now that we are both in the same location, the power went out, which means the internet went out, which means the desktop driving all of the audio went out, which means everything went dark. Everything got weird. But we're back now.
We're back. We made it.
So hopefully it doesn't go out again.
I've got Ellen on a bike doing her miles for the week upstairs, trying to keep things running.
You're generating the power. Like, we need you to generate enough power to keep the podcast.
Yeah, give those hamsters some Grimper Brothers coffee and keep them moving.
I've given the dogs a healthy dose. They're upstairs on the treadmill.
These technical difficulties brought to you by Dan and all of my folks at Grimper Brothers Coffee. Order the subscription service and get a free bag of coffee. Okay, so took me a second to figure out what we're talking about, but it was traumatic brain injuries because I feel like that's pretty on brand. So you just talked about your experiences and we were talking about like, why aren't we talking about these? It's an outage within the entire industry. It's an outage within our entire community. But I feel like, yes, it's a huge gear shift to go from talking about the media landscape to talking about traumatic brain injuries. But I feel like there is a through line between the two of them, because we were just talking about heritage and about how you can't run Paris-Roubaix and fall, and it's going to mess everything up, and it's going to be different, and we can't run disc brakes because it's different, and we can't run aero bars. We can't do this or whatever the gripe is.
Steel is the best.
It's all about the best. It's all about heritage, and you can't change things. But I feel like the other part of this heritage is I feel like I know, Doug, you've fallen guilty to this. I know I've fallen guilty to it. That we romanticize the like beating shit out of yourself that is cycling, and like you gotta dig deep in the suitcase full of courage and all of the other platitudes that we all know and that we all get excited by from Tour de France coverage and Giro coverage and Vuelta coverage and things like that we've kind of grown up hearing and getting excited by because we love the sport. And I feel like there's part of it that is like, there's a lot of males in this sport. Males generally aren't the most accessible. They don't like to share things. They don't like to show weakness. They don't like to talk about things that aren't comfortable, or say that like I'm having depressive thoughts or suicidal thoughts or violent thoughts or anything that can come as a side effect from taking your squishy little brain and shaking it up and banging it against things and doing things that it doesn't want to do. So I feel like that there's a really tight kind of intrinsic tie between the two. And I think there's a culture in cycling that you just pedal through. Like, I've dealt with pain before. I've dealt with headaches before. I've dealt with this before. I've dealt with that before. And that's all horse shit. Like it's so interesting coming out the other side. Not that we're out the other side of the pandemic, but we've all lived through a global pandemic that is like a once in a multi-generational experience. And if there was a time to self-reflect, like if you haven't done it or if you didn't do it over the pandemic,
it's a good time.
Like,
you're not going to.
Where are you at? And
yeah.
like, why haven't you? And you probably should, because there's a lot of trauma that's piled up in the last 24, like 28 months.
But even talking about your own response to trauma is a thing we don't do.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's just not it is not covered.
One foot in front of the other, brother.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, there's the there's the whole thing about, just harden the fuck up. And
yeah, it's one of the rules.
Yeah. And I have for sure ridden a bicycle when I was in no shape to ride a bicycle. And I mean, from like a head injury perspective, right? But I did it because I wanted to hang out with my friends. I did it because I didn't want people to think I was weak or whatever. I did it because I paid the entry fee to something weeks ago and I was going to do it. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that we don't give ourselves enough grace, or we don't do it to ourselves, but we also don't allow space for it within cycling culture. I mean, we can say it's, sporting culture, it's American culture, whatever, but we don't give ourselves the space, the compassion to say, no, like, it's okay. Like, you wouldn't go riding a bike, with a broken collarbone, because we're cyclists. We all break our collarbones, right? Like
de rigueur. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you wouldn't try to ride with, you were saying before, like your partner, did her tib fib, right? Like, I did my tib fib riding bikes. I wasn't getting on the bike the next day after I'd been in the hospital overnight and riding a bike. The
same should be true of a brain injury. Yeah.
I think I've done that with a bike though, right? Like, and that's like, we as a cycling culture aren't watching out for ourselves in that way. And I think that, like, even me personally, like, I didn't really think about it. And I didn't think about it until it happened to me. And then it wasn't until months later where I was like, wait a second, this has really messed me up. And I should have given myself some more space. I should have given myself some more time. And then it's also knowing like the people around you of saying, no, like, what are you doing back on the bike? Get off the bike, you idiot. And I mean idiot in the nicest of sense, right? Like, don't be doing that. We want you here. We want you here in several months. Like, we don't need you here tomorrow. It's okay. Like, you're not on the group ride. Don't worry. There's going to be more group rides if you take care of yourself.
But this is the thing. We aren't talking about this enough. And it happens to such a like drastic portion of our population that we don't even know how to recognize it, right? Like we don't even know how to recognize it in ourselves. You're talking about, I'm going around riding on a bike and I just bonked my head, and we all talk about it casually. Like,
right? Yeah. What were all we're listing them off in the green room, like
bonk my knob.
Yeah. Like,
clap my dome. That's that one's kind of my favorite.
That's very East Coast of you.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's actually, I'm gonna throw that one out to my old friend Spomer, and I'll throw it to another publication over at Vital. That's a Litter Mag reference. Like if you want to go back to the OG.
Litter Mag, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
rang your bell. That was what I grew up with.
Yeah, rang your bell. Like
Saw
there's
stars.
Yeah. There's so many
naps.
Yeah, taking a dirt nap. Yeah. There's so many things that we trivialize in that space that we don't even really understand that we need self-care after you hit your head. Like, and like, to be clear, none of the three of us are anywhere near a medical degree, except my wife is upstairs and she has one. That's as close as any of the three of us
powering this podcast.
Yeah, she's currently riding the trainer to make sure the podcast stays on the air. But she's the only one who has a medical degree. None of us have medical degrees, but like if you hit your head, you should take a break, like full stop, and you should probably get checked out. You should probably get looked at. There's no shame in it. Like, John, you and I were riding once. You were ahead of me. We're at Mitchell Memorial Forest, and I took a digger and I smacked my head. No, you were behind me and you took the fall. I took a different fall at Mitchell Memorial Forest to give myself a concussion, which I do not remember. This is the problem. Like, we probably should have stopped. Did we?
I've probably had 3 or 4 occurrences between my mountain bike and my cross bike
that we should have stopped.
There's a very specific one that I remember at King's, my first year racing cross on the camel hump, that I was just out there practicing, and I like lost the front wheel and this like in the face of the second jump, and basically like cased my face on the jump.
Face case.
And that was one where it was like everything got like white. Everything turned white for like 3 seconds. And I sat there and I don't remember the rest of the day.
That
like those traumatic situations. And like in the moment, I'm like, I'm probably done. Like the rest of my intervals aren't happening today. But then you sit there for a second and you're like, I'm fine. I could see like the white went away. You're just like, it's what we were talking about earlier, a little bit of like, your Operation Ivy lyrics of like like we talked about, of like the things that get you in trouble, or the things that you don't know that you don't know. Mm-hmm. And in those situations is like, I can hear, I can see, nothing hurts, I don't have a headache,
I'm probably good,
I'm probably fine. But it's
you do the quick check and you're like, I mean, it's so much of a joke, right? That there's that freaking ancient old meme of, is my bike okay? Right? Like, that's usually our first concern. It's like,
let's go.
Yeah. Wallet watch, right? Like, check them out.
Yeah.
What's up?
Cell phone wallet.
Yeah, exactly. Same one. Yeah.
Key cell phone wallet passport. That was like, I memorized that, like going to Taiwan so many times because there was earthquakes. And I was like, key cell phone wallet passport. That was like my go-to. But I guess going back to this, like saying that we have normalized this, and it's something we have to stop. Like, we have to pull ourselves back from the brink on this one, right? Because I think it's something that we're not seeing. We're all, I mean, everybody's bad at seeing the future, obviously. Because none of us have the, I mean, except for him, but like, or Marty McFly when he got he got the sports almanac, right? But that's different. Like, we don't have that and we can't see, but we can also kind of look across and be like, we all saw, the greatest athlete of the 20th century, what happened to him with Muhammad Ali, right?
LS,
and we see what continues to happen to to football players, and we see what happens to hockey players. And but wait a second, like, we ain't talking about this in bikes. And
physics is still a thing. Like, you can hit somebody in football when you run like a 4.240, but if you're descending a mountain at 60 miles an hour, that's
but it's also and we're a very, 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 very extremely few of us ever get paid to do this on a professional level. So it's kind of like, what are we doing? What glory are we doing it for? Like, no, like, stop. Like, this is dumb.
Your rent is not predicated on getting back up, shaking it off, and going back down, hurtling yourself back down the hill. Like, I cringe when I watch some professional downhillers take hits and go back up for a competitive run,
and then the next run qualifying. You can clearly see
you're like,
that they're not there.
There's something,
but there has been some concussion protocols that have
just good. Thank God
have entered there. And I've been kind of disconnected from the World Cup downhill scene for the last 4 years of my life. But there and I remember when I was at GT, and Win Masters hit his head and was like, I'm not going back until I'm ready. And I shot Win a message. I was like, yes, I fully support you. Thank you. Right. Like, that's important. And I think, Rich, I want to say I've seen Rachel Atherton do some similar stuff. And I heard them say something on a Red Bull broadcast. I want to say Elliot was talking about something where he said, hey, so-and-so smacked their noggin in qualies or practice or whatever. And no, they're not racing. And yes, excellent. But
it's interesting sitting on this side of all of those times, because like, you think about like looking at things in hindsight, and my reference for this, like the glaring thing that I'm thinking of is Dale Earnhardt Jr., who actually cut his racing career short because he had a series of like 3 very, very violent concussions. And I remember watching I would say as a fan, but I was kind of coming up through the short track ranks with some of my friends at the time. So we were fairly kind of in tune to what's going on. And I specifically remember he sat out 8 or 9 races in a row after the first really, really bad one, where it was, it was like a tire test and a tire blew going into turn 1 at like 203 miles an hour, and the car spun around and it like hit parallel to the wall on the driver's side, which anybody that is aware of what side the driver's on in America, like, you're 6 inches between you and a wall, and your head is like 3 inches between the helmet and a roll bar. So like, there's so much inertia going on there. No one talked about the tire test. That only is something that he's told in the last year, like on his podcast. And the coverage of why somebody else was driving for Dale Jr. was always like, well, Dale Jr. was sick. He's battling the flu, or he's battling some sort of stomach bug, or he's battling some sort of headaches or something like that. And it's like, oh my God, these are all because like, clearly something's wrong. And he even was talking about it on his podcast, to where like he went to 7 or 8 doctors before he finally had one that was like, this is what's going on.
And he was, at the peak of his career and one of the greatest, athletes of that period,
athlete in his sport.
And he had to go to, like you just said, 6 or 7 doctors to get this square, right? Then, I know for me, like, heck, trying to get an appointment for one doctor, as just Tara from Bicycling Magazine, like, no, like, that's kind of rough, right? Like, heck, like, the skin cancer on my nose took me 6 months to get cut off my face, because yay, America healthcare. But I guess what I'm getting at is that we don't even go to those lengths. Like, hell, how many of us excuse me again, how many of us have crashed and cracked our helmet or something and then never gone to the hospital, never gone to urgent care, never gone to a doctor.
Yeah. I mean,
I think the easier question is who hasn't?
Who has actually gone and been like,
no, but we also like it's even like a running joke with us. Like here we are joking about it, and it's not. I mean I partake in gallows humor with the best of them, right? But we joke about it because it's so prevalent, right? Like it's something that we all identify with. Like we talk about it here like it's breaking your collarbone.
Yeah. So how do we move beyond that?
Like
so
it's breaking your oh, you broke your derailleur hanger. Oh, you got a head injury. Like it's the same thing? Question mark. No, it's not. Like your brain don't grow back, y'all. You know, like yeah.
So how do we move beyond this, right? How do we move beyond this in a space where we're looking out for each other and encouraging, because this is the thing, right? Like John and I went riding, John had a wreck, or I had a wreck. Like it should be incumbent on us to look out for each other and say, hey,
what do we need to look for?
What do we like? And we're not medical doctors.
No, we're not medical doctors. I'm not going to give advice, but
what do we need to be doing to change our culture around this? I think is the thing we can speak to, right? Like, I can't tell you how to look for people's pupils being dilated and whatnot, but how do we change the culture around this?
I think is just to start talking about it, and more of us, when we see something, we see somebody hit the deck. Stop and check them out, right? Like unless you're in a race, and there are trained professionals who are there to do that, right? Stop and help people out. But you get back to the trailhead and hey, let's talk this through and check in on people. I will say, like when I hit my head, when was that? That's I have to put things. October of 2016. I was descending a road outside of Taichung in Taiwan, and I hit a lane marker, which in Taiwan are considerably larger and harder than they are here in the States. Like this fucker was probably, it felt like it was 10 millimeters tall, and it was made of metal. It wasn't some little chunk of plastic. And I catapulted myself very far across the road. When I look back at my Garmin, I was going, y'all loved it, 66.6 kilometers an hour, when then it went to zero, right? So 42, 43 miles an hour. And I dragged my face across.
That's so metal.
So yeah, metal. I know that sounds
metal to stop.
But to that point, right? I did have friends checking up on me. I didn't pay attention all the time to those friends, but I had friends checking on me for weeks and being like, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Are you, get off social media. They'll see me on social media and I know you're on your phone, get off the phone, things like that. Get off the computer, stop looking at your email. We're not checking on each other.
Yeah.
We're not checking on each other like that. But I think the other thing too is hey, let's support, when we see the pro athletes, when we see this happening to the pro athletes or riding idols, let's lift them up. Let's not relegate them to the back and be like, oh, they're yesterday's news because they had a brain injury. We champion people again who broke their collarbone. And it's oh yay, they're back. And we should definitely doing the same with folks who have brain injuries. And I think one of the things that me becoming part of the cyclocross community over the past several years, one of the best people I've met in cyclocross, and have him as guest, please, is Ben Frederick, right? And Ben Fred, the awareness that he's putting out there about brain injuries and coming back from brain injuries and performing at the highest level. It has made me more aware personally, and also it made me reflect and think about, hey, what can I be doing that's different? Where can I advocate for change? And again, going back to, the start of this conversation, like, hey, my friend James, right? Like, James went through this, and it changed him as a person and changed him as a rider. And I don't want that to be like a footnote or a passing, right? Like, he was one of my best friends. Like, I don't want that happening to other people. No, I'm gonna cry. Like,
okay,
no, of course. Like, I cry because
you care.
Honestly, because I fucking care, and like, I care about James. I care about his wife Carrie and the kids, right? Like, it's just like, to quote Adam Myerson, right? Like, it's just fucking bikes, right? So stupid bikes, I think is what I says. But yeah, like, we gotta watch out for everybody else and take this shit like way more seriously, and stop stigmatizing it, but also stop like trivializing it. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, stop trivializing it and be there to reach across and lend a hand to people, because they need it, even if they don't know they need it, or even if they're pushing you away saying they don't need it. Reach out to them.
You said a very powerful word in all of that, and it's one that's ringing for me, and it's the word reflect. Because I think about, if you play, your crash, Tara, times where I've crashed, Doug, times where you've crashed, times where you've been with a group of people or with one other person and they've gone down. Like, the idea of, you have to get back on the bike and keep going. You don't want your heart rate to come down. You got to keep the training ride going. You got to keep, like, taking that part of it seriously. Like, take the moment, reflect. Like, don't just check to make sure that nothing's broken. Like, chill out for a second. Like, let your heart rate come down. Let things like fizzle. Take the time to reflect in the moment. Be in the moment. Be in the moment with that person. Be in the moment with yourself, even if you're by yourself. But then that same word of reflection follows true for the next 24 hours, the next week, the next month, as you're saying, where people were checking in on you, that you may not have realized why they were checking in on you, but it was, they were checking in to make sure that you were reflecting what needed to be done, and that you were doing the right things, and they were doing their best to protect you, and they were being in the moment and trying to take you out of the moment to stop taking all this other nonsense so seriously. Like, it's constant in our world right now. Like, I know we all like to make fun that, like, Tara talks shit on Twitter, or, we post this on, like, this is my social media platform that I love to talk on, or this is what I gotta go hear what's going on, or things like that. And it's like, that's not important. Like, social media is not important. Like, if it wasn't for, like, Doug and I have this conversation all the time, if it wasn't for the Gravel-Lot, I don't think either one of us would be on any social media platform, because all it does is just hurt, and all it does is just suck time. Like, it's very rarely adding something to your life in these sort of occurrences, where the people that you need to be around you are there protecting you, and you're not just fucking around on Twitter, or like going to try and get advice from like the Twitter sphere.
Yeah.
But like, relying on each other, like, that's where this idea of, like, if we want to call ourselves a community, these are the situations. It's not necessarily making a better bike race, or like making sure that you show up for the group ride, but like, if you're going to show up for the group ride, show up for all of it, like good, the bad, and the ugly. Just like, signing up for a marriage, like sickness and in health, like all of those pieces, that to me is what community is. And that, like, time to reflect. The bikes are the venue.
Like that's the thing that we do together. That's the thing that we share, but that's not the thing. Like that's like not the thing that keeps bringing us back. It's this that keeps bringing us back to each other. It's the connection that we have with each other. Riding a bike is awesome by yourself, but it is so much better when you get to do it with other people, because that connection is so important.
And I think, we have to get past this point where everything is, I'm losing some words here. Part of it, I'm just thinking a lot right now, like inside my own headspace, but is we're looking at our front wheel again. All right, I'm going to use the bike metaphors, right?
We're here for it. This is a bike show.
Yeah, exactly. The pebbles will get this, right? Like, we're looking at our front wheel. We're not looking at the next corner. We're not looking through the next corner.
Yeah.
And we're worried about our own space instead of the space around us and the people who are filling that space. And here, like, I would not personally be here right now without my bike community. Like, I will legitimately say that, right? Like, beyond any shadows of doubt, I wouldn't be here right now without my friends in the bike community.
Heard, seen, and felt.
Physical sense, and a mental and emotional sense too. But we need to do that. And here we're picking out one little thing. Like, we're there for our friends. We're there for our friends again. They bust their collarbone. Yeah, we're gonna drive them to the hospital. Like, hey, you knock yourself out or you hit your head hard. Yeah, the people are gonna follow up. You got to do that for other folks, and we have to stop. Again, use the word reflect. I'm going to say the big word is stop trivializing things and stop just brushing it off, right?
And glossing over it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking here about how it's sort of like, how many of us have, like, we've got the sniffles in the past 2 years and go, oh shit, I have COVID, and you rush off and you take your rapid test, and then you're, woo, I didn't have COVID, yay. But at the same point in time, like, you went and took the test, right? Like,
you checked yourself out. You took care of yourself. You did your due diligence to make sure that things are okay.
Yeah. Check yourself after you wreck yourself, and
I think that could be the title of this show, is check yourself after you wreck yourself.
And like, we have to, I think we need to just be doing a bit more of that. And that's, here, like, again, like, I ain't an expert in this stuff, but, I hit you up, Doug, because I'm like, hey, I know you and I can share this experience, and I want to talk about it, and I need to talk about it right now because, like, I need to be there for, like, my friend and his family.
Yes.
Because going back to what John said, like, I want to remember this, and I want other people to take this away. Like 99 out of 100 people who are listening to this show right now have never met James. But a whole lot of you were probably, James touched your life somehow because he was a product manager for Giant twice, Specialized, Schwinn, Veltec, Mozzie for a long time, right? Like, if you rode any of those bikes at some point in time, chances are James interacted with you, whether it was the V-brake spec or the handlebar tape on your bike, or other products like an order case or things like that he was part of. So, I think it's important, right? Like, these are our friends. This is our community. Take care of your community. it's important.
I think something that we also don't consider, which I think, and this is just kind of a longer tail thing for me, is a lot of times those sort of injuries can either exacerbate mental health challenges that already exist. I know for me, that was definitely a thing. I was in a bad place mentally, had a TBI, which caused other issues. And they can cause problems later on, in a way that you don't necessarily know. So I think, all of us, not only looking in the immediate line of space, right, where we're looking at tomorrow and the next day or on that ride and making sure that person gets care, but we also need to care for those people and look down the road and give them some grace and some space and some support more than anything else, and support and say, hey, oh, cool, like, have you thought that maybe this is like you've had a mood change or you've had a thing, maybe this is something you should investigate and bring up with a professional, saying, hey, I've had this challenge, I've hit my head really hard. And it does change us. Terry, you talked about this earlier. It's changed you in ways, and it's changed me in a lot of ways. And I'm very much a different person than I was 10 years ago. For a number of reasons. There are plenty of them, some of them external, but some of them have definitely been because of head trauma.
No, and I'll, hey, let's be frank and talk about some of the stuff, and I'll let, the Pebbles know here, like, hey, here's some stuff, like, keep an eye on this stuff, right? Like, and for a lot of folks, it's going to be different, but there's common threads to these things, right? Like, as you just mentioned, Doug, like, hey, mental health issues. And yeah, I've had anxiety my whole life, but in the months directly following my, my big crash in October of 16, my anxiety went to a place that it has never been before, and luckily hasn't been since. But that was like to the point where I couldn't function. Like, I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't return emails or calls to people because I was so anxious about whatever, something. On top of that, I saw changes with my speech patterns and how I think about things. And a big thing, and this happens to me. So it's happened to me less over the last 2 years, as I guess I've healed, right? But I can see the word in my head, but I can't say it. I can't verbalize it. I've actually been to the point where I can spell the word, but I can't say it, right? It's been things like for my entire life, I have no problem going to a show, right? I go and see live music. It could be the loudest band in the world, and I'm there, and the most brightest, strobe lights. I can't take strobe lights anymore. I can't. I just can't do strobe lights because I will get physically ill from strobe lights. And now I know these things, right? That was never something in my life before October of 2016. Now strobe lights happen, and it sends my heart racing, and it makes me physically feel like I'm going to throw up. So there are these things, and hey, again, folks, your stuff very well might be different, but listen to Aunt Tara here, take the stuff seriously, pretty please, with sugar on top.
Well, it's
agreed.
It's really fascinating to me. Again, I'm not intentionally trying to tie this back, but
go for it.
We started talking about representation in media and doing the work of showing people and giving somebody, this is the person that the kid on the newsstand is looking to be. But that idea of representation and doing the work matters. That's on a broad scale, and what we're talking about here is it's very much the same thing on a micro scale. Is it's doing the work to check on your friends, to one of the best, this is going to make me cry. One of the best experiences of my friendship with Doug was the fact that he knew Amanda's surgery for her tib fib was at 6 a.m. the morning after the break happened, because they had to set it and put the titanium rod in it and all that stuff. He did the math on his own and was in my front yard at 4 a.m. the next morning asking, do you need help to get your wife in the car? Like, didn't need to be was just there, was like John Cusack in holding the stereo outside the
I did
house.
Not have a stereo, to be clear. He was 4 a.m. It's not a good time for a stereo.
But those sort of situations where you don't know that you need the help, you know that you're in over your head. And spending the night at the ER the night before, I knew I was in over my head, because the surgical team was there, the nurses were there. They their reaction when you can scare an emergency room team with what happens, you know that the next year of your life is going to be awful, or that it's going to be.
I've done that when I've done that one before. Like, haven't seen that before.
In those situations of read the room, do the work, and be that anchor for those people when they maybe can't do it themselves, or that they're, like you're saying, when you're wanting to check Twitter and you have friends that are like, get off your phone, and to protect you from yourself. Like, all of these things to me fall under a very, very similar blanket. And I know it's been a running joke for us in TGL that it's like, welcome to the Gravel Lot, where it's a bike show where we don't talk about bikes. And we've talked a lot about bikes today, but now I'm not talking about bikes. This is about those interpersonal relationships that are the whole crux of all of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's like those small moments add up to the big moments. And it's going to require the work on both ends. Like, yes, Hearst needs to keep doing the work. The smaller media companies need to keep doing the work to show the right people and to put the visuals out and to put the words out into the world to move things forward from a social perspective. But for what we're talking about here, it's about learning how to be a better friend and to be a better partner and to be a better person for the people that need you in their life. If we were capable as humans to be on our own and to be, self-sufficient, there wouldn't be so damn many of us. The fact that there's so many of us on the planet and we all seem to congregate together in big groups, and we make things together, and we put plumbing and we put electrical that goes out.
You know what I mean? Podcast. About the birds and the bees here, right, John? Why there's so many of us, right? And you know why, when we get
sex
together,
is natural, sex is fun, sex is just one-on-one. That's what's up.
I mean,
well, it can be more than that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it can be more.
I was just singing George Michael lyrics. Give me a break.
Technically there is an ellipses on that. I mean, at least in my head in the song, there's an ellipses on that. Or maybe. But I mean, you guys get what I'm saying. This is about putting in the work and paying attention, and not. I love, I know we were making fun of the bike metaphors today, but I love the metaphor of so many people in this sport, in this hobby, in this thing where we ride kids' toys, are just looking at their front wheel. They're so fixated on, I got to get my miles in, I got to get my intervals in, I got to get my time in. I only have, even down to I only have 2 hours. I carved out 2 hours with my wife. She's got the kids by herself. I need to get my time in. I want to maximize my 2 hours. That very, very type A, I got to get it done mentality. But to your point, that's a finite time in your life. Even if you're getting paid and you're putting a roof over your head by pushing pedals on a bike or throwing yourself down the side of a hill on a bike or whatever that thing is, it is a very, very finite time in your life that you have the rest of your life after you're no longer valid to the professional peloton. And
protect
keeping that
neck.
Keeping that stuff in order is.
And for the large majority of us, even if we're racing a bike, we're racing for a plastic medal, folks, right? Like we're racing for cantilever.
I love that you call it a plastic medal. That's
John almost shot water across.
So you know exactly what I mean, right? Like they are a lot of times,
those
right?
stonks.
Yeah, it stonks, yeah. And or like you're gonna get some canny pads, or you're gonna get some clincher, you're gonna get some clincher tires, y'all. It's like 23s. But yeah, like it doesn't like that stuff. It doesn't matter if like you can't ride your butt. Like here we'll tie it into the long ones, right? Like, yeah, like the amazing people who subscribe to bicycling for the last 50 years and they're 70 years old and they're still out there riding. Heck, like I've run I love to ride with older folks when I'm out there riding now by myself, and you catch on to somebody, and because they've been out there doing it for such a long time, right? Like I want to be that person. How old did I say I was earlier in this episode? 46, right? Like I want to be here in 30 years, hopefully riding a bike, right? Yep. I want to be that crazy old person who's showing up at races or showing up to group rides. But
your old father-in-law who has small cell lung cancer still riding a bike.
But we all got to watch out for ourselves, right? Like, and here, like I'll give a shout out to my friend who 2 weeks ago, hey, my one of my best friends, Jenna, came out and helped me because I couldn't drive home after I get it. Apparently you can't drive home after you have anesthesia and you get a chunk taken out of your nose. I mean,
but biking would have said you could have just smashed your head against the wall and had your nose replaced and driven home.
Yeah, and driven home. But she came out from Pittsburgh and drove me around for a day and yada yada yada. Jenna had to like physically restrain me from like getting on the bike that night because I had ridden for 100 and something straight days, and I'm like, I can't break the streak, right? Like, who cares?
You can.
That's
arbitrary.
I did. Exactly. It was a construct that I had created that it really doesn't matter. And I took a full week off the bike, and it was the first time I had done that in 100 and something. It's the first time I took a full week off a bike in a long time.
Probably
it was probably what I needed on multiple levels. But I guess what I'm getting at is like we all got to watch out for each other in many ways. Yes, head injuries, that's one. Other life stuff. Hey, just watch our backs right now. Like everything else in the world is kind of completely sideways. Let's take care of ourselves right now.
Take care of each other right now.
Yeah. Like like I've been to enough shows in my life, punk rock, hardcore, ska shows, whatever, and I saw somebody.
Somebody goes down in the pit. You pick them up.
That's exactly what. Pick it up. But that's like I saw somebody absolutely eat shit like in the pit the other day, and somebody like people pick them right back up. That's what we got to do, right? Like, take that ethos and run with it in other section of our lives. And hey, let's watch out for each other. Yes, in this particular instance, let's watch out for each other and just know a little bit about, hey, what's going on, with some brain injury type stuff, and giving ourselves some time to recover and knowing the symptoms and knowing when we got to get some help.
I'll find
John find science and put it in
science in the show notes. I don't know what that science is going to be because I'm dumb, but science in the show notes.
We'll find some science.
Find some good science, not just Wikipedia, right?
Yeah, we'll John's good researcher.
I'll find some real nerdy shit. It'll be in there.
He's good at it. No, I think all of this is good, and I think all of us thinking about our community and how we take care of each other is the most important thing. And given all the fraughtness in the world and things going on, that needs to be our kind of mantra, because I think that's what we believe in, all three of us. And I know all the Pebbles believe in that. And I know that that's just kind of the way we like to operate in the world, but we all need to double down on it, especially when things are tough or hard, or we see somebody going through something. So I appreciate that that's kind of the perspective that we kind of like get to after talking for an hour and a half. Is like,
I was gonna say, how long have we been on this? Are we gonna have to make this into a Adam Larson style two-parter?
She's angling for a fourth episode.
That's what she's trying. She's trying to get the jacket, John. She's trying to get the jacket, the fifth episode jacket. We'll get you there. We'll get you there.
I'm gonna get there. I have to do my yearly appearance.
No, trust me, we will get you there for sure. So, we gotta. So, Tara, obviously, John,
you gotta pay some bills.
We do. Yeah, we gotta pay bills. But I feel like we've already done. Like she the just question. Did. Yeah. The take home. Yeah, she did the take home, but then she can succinct it or come up with a different one that has nothing to do with it, like something about otters or dogs or something for the end. So we're gonna ask you the final question. So prepare for something witty or not or heartfelt or whatever which way you wish to play it. So you prepare that while we talk to our good friends and pay bills. Thank you, all of you, for being here and spending time with us. Sorry about our technical malfunctions today. Challenges do bounce for you.
Hopefully it's seamless for you. I'll leave some fun stuff in the podcast edit about the sound going out and probably some cursing or something. It was pretty fun. We could not do this without all y'all. You are literally the lifeblood of this show. We are so thankful for all of you. Thank you for listening, engaging, and being here. In addition to all of you supporting the show in the myriad in various ways that you do, please go check out all of these sponsors, because they're the ones that have allowed us to keep bringing this to you for 4.5 seasons and well into the future. And we thank them for their support from the bottom of John and my heart, but show them that you love us and the show by buying their stuff. That helps.
Another link in the show notes. First one is we talk about it all the time, but Be Free Ride Bike Cycling Apparel. It is like, there's a lot of companies that make custom cycling apparel, and they give you, a club cut and a race cut and maybe like a sleeveless or a long sleeve version. But with bfrbcycling.com, you are able to, for your team, pick out specifically the fabrics that you want, the specific cuts, the length of the sleeve, the length of the inseam on the shorts. Do you want shorts? Do you want bibs? Do you want different long johns? I don't even know what they call the straps. Like, there's different strap options for the bibs. Like, do you want narrow ones? Do you want the wide ones? I really like the wide flat ones. Like, all of the different things you get to pick, and you get to personalize your kit for you. And then you get to put your graphics on it for all your sponsors that are so vitally important for everybody, putting the sponsors on the cycling kit for cycling teams. So be sure to check them out. Go to bfrbcycling.com. Check out the actual stuff that you can buy from the store there, or get in contact with Adam and the entire team at BFRB Cycling and see how they can help your team in 2022 and well beyond. And we're all going to take care of each other and be here well beyond 2022.
Right. And we're going to need some sort of clothing, because eventually it will wear out. That is the thing. So you're going to have to get some new undergarments and such.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got all that.
Right.
Yeah, without a doubt. Also powering us today for sure, and I know because I got a Twitter DM with a picture of it from our good friend Tara, is our wonderful friend Dan at Grimper Brothers, powering us by caffeine pretty much every day of our lives. I don't know that I would survive without caffeine, and certainly wouldn't survive as well unless I had Grimper Brothers coffee.
I don't think the rest of your team would survive.
That's correct.
Just like that's where the period goes. Not like as well, but just like period survive.
No. I would end everyone at the office.
Doug would be on the news.
I would be on the news. It's quite possible.
Don't make the news. Make the news.
Be the news. So make sure to go click the link in our show notes and head on over to grimperbrothers.com right now. Get yourself some amazing premium hand roasted coffee that supports amazing causes. Dan and the team of Grimper Brothers does a great job of giving back to people and things in the cycling world that matter. So find yourself a cause, find yourself some coffee, get yourself signed up. And if you get on the subscription deal, you get a free month of coffee. So get on the subscription deal. It's a great way to make sure that you're caffeinated well into this fine, beautiful summer that we are about to have. I am willing it to exist.
Yes. And supporting great stuff too.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, Hand Up Gloves, supplying apparel and gloves and socks and outerwear and hats for multiple sports.
And jorts. It's almost jorts season, John.
Oh boy, it is almost jorts season.
Jorts.
Not only are we on Panda Watch, we're on Jorts Watch. Maybe they'll coincide with each other. Like
there is like a point on the two diagrams where they like cross for sure.
A very small sliver of the Venn diagram. So it is multiple sports offered in a variety of designs. I love like the like design nerd in me loves the new tiger print stuff, but I look at it and I'm like, that I couldn't wear that. Like it's not. I'm more the like chill end of the spectrum for my design kit, but then I saw like tiger print and I was like, I could probably buy that for Doug and Doug would love it.
I mean, I would appreciate it, but I do not work at a gas station. It is definitely that.
I'm gonna leave that.
It is good.
Anyway, check out the website. Use the link in the show notes. Use code Pebble $sign at checkout to save 10% off your order. Troy, everybody there, I'm getting ready to place an order. I need a whole bunch of new socks and some new flannels.
I got new hats. I got ordered a whole bunch of new hats.
I have to put a pretty big order into, I think. So, yeah, check out Hand Up Gloves. Like, let your personality shine through. Go check out their website. They're doing tons of new releases this past couple months. Check out the Gloves That Give. Similar to Grandpoor Brothers, they're doing things where if you buy the gloves, they're giving back to specific charities. So go check out what those are. But again, click the link in the show notes, support the shows or support the people that are supporting this show that you're listening to and hopefully you care about because you're listening this far. So go check these places out.
Absolutely. Huge thanks to all of you Pebbles each and every week. We love hearing from you. Cannot tell you how much it means to have your support. So continue to do so. Head on over to all of our social feeds. We're at the Gravelot on all that. Subscribe and follow us there. Go to thegravelot.com, send us messages, stay in touch with all the things we've got going on. Learn how to become a Patreon supporter. We'd love to have you on board with that. That keeps the engine running. And don't forget to join our streams whenever we post them up, whenever you see them happening. Sometimes that's on Tuesdays, sometimes we go live, sometimes we're just gonna post delay it now that we can do it.
Didn't go live,
because we would have had everything break this week. And of course, download our podcast every other Thursday morning at the bright and squirrely hour of 4:30 a.m. Eastern. So that's when it goes live.
Our intro and outro music is from our great friend Water. So many thanks to him for the jams. I am not sure what the technical difficulty music is from.
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
I might have, depending on if it's licensed or not, I might have to put that in the show notes as well. But thank you to him for letting us use his music for our waiting room, for our intro, for our outro, all of that stuff. It sets the mood perfectly, I think, for what TGL is all about. So check him out on all the major music platforms or just click the link in the show notes and it'll take you directly there.
Absolutely. All right, Tara. Final thoughts. I feel like this is the Jerry Springer show. We are from Cincinnati. This might work all right. Someone's going to get hit with the chair.
That already happened.
No, but seriously, what do you want the Pebbles to take home from today?
Well, I actually, it's funny. You prepped me for this, and I know this is coming from my previous two appearances on the show, and I had something fully like comedically witty, like all lined up. But I want to give a shout out again to my good friend James and thank James. Thank James for being part of my life for 20 something years. And I'm going to remember you, and, to Carrie and Ava and Wyatt and Ian. I love you all very much. I'm here for you. So I'm going to end on a downer, y'all. But no, these are great folks. And we're going to leave it at that today.
That's not a downer. That's love.
I was going to say, Tara, that's not a downer because that is exactly what that's what this is all about. This is creating that love and sharing it and respecting what it meant. Like that's, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Tears aren't bullshit. Like they don't lie.
No, I do that shit every day.
There's huge power in
that. Because I cried during the episode. I cried on my ride today. I cried in the shower after my ride today. So yeah, like it's a good day for it. And it's funny because I haven't even like jabbed myself with estrogen. So these are real tears.
I love you so much. Thank you. Oh, from downtown. This just breaks the backboard on the way out of the studio. Just like
stabbing the ribs.
She's like,
yeah,
by the way, just let me bring this place down. Oh, it is so good to get to spend time with you. Thanks for being with us tonight. It means a lot to have you here as always. And we always treasure the times you're here with us. So
thanks y'all. And yeah, I said this, I think this is my new Kieran, now I'm going to come up with like another one, right? Like I had said, this is like my New Year's resolution was to ride in this year. I wanted to ride in more places with more people, more bikes in more places with more people. And I've known y'all for like 5 years and we still haven't ridden bikes together.
Well, there was kind of a big thing that happened in the middle of that we're
okay,
really out of.
Yeah,
that was a little like stick in the spokes.
Yeah, but like I'm gonna have to eventually, like I gotta come see you or something.
Oh yeah, we can make this happen.
Like we gotta figure this out, especially before, like, I mean, if I'm not allowed to go there and take a pee, like I can't go there, but we'll figure it out.
We will work on this, and if we have to meet in a pee neutral location, we'll meet in a pee neutral.
If there's anybody on this podcast, and we're deep in the podcast at this point, so it's fine.
If you're still hanging,
if there's anybody on this podcast right now that knows where to find the place to go to the bathroom, it's this guy.
It's true. He can find a spot to go to the bathroom.
I will find you a safe place, whether it's in the woods or it's next to the road. I will find you.
No, and as somebody who was on like spironolactone for a couple 3 years there, yeah, like you learn every place on your ride where you got to pee, like, and Starbucks, like you can hate them, but they generally have like clean bathrooms.
Yeah. And they're single seaters, right?
Yeah, exactly. Chipotle has like stainless steel over the place. Like they were good like rest stops like as well. So, yeah.
You can release a spirolactone guide to restrooms. That's potentially a book.
Yeah, McDonald's are open all the time and they clean their bathrooms like on the hour.
Yep,
so
it's
like,
true. It's true. It used to be a manager.
I'd say that's normally where I roll.
Yep. Yeah, McDonald's is always safe bet. So
yeah, you can usually take your bike inside and they don't give a shit. Like sometimes I'll even buy fries. Like they're okay.
Fries are tasty. I back them. So, well,
anyway,
Tara, thank you for being here and spending the time with us. I
love you both. I love you both
too. Pebbles, that is all for this week. So make sure you subscribe, follow, and engage because as we say, decisions and trails are made by those who show up. So if we don't see you on the trails this time, we'll see you next week. Bye, John.
Bye, Doug.